What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Tomatoito Boxing Show. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to acknowledge the BKFC 57 event that took place a few days back. It was such a big weekend, right, for boxing, where we had Ben Dobson, we had Buatsi and Aziz. But the night prior, February 2nd, if I remember the date correctly, because my days are all thrown off, Austin Trout ended up making a return to the BKFC ring, and he faced the dual champion in Luis Palomino. Well, former dual champion, because he vacated one of the titles, and in order to defend his welterweight title against Austin Trout. And this fight took place in Hollywood, Florida, at the Hard Rock, the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino out there. And this was the highest sold out, or the highest gate revenue for that venue in their history of hosting promotional companies, different events. The BKFC has done it again. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to acknowledge that, because back in December, I posted an episode on the BKFC and did a whole history, backtrack to Dave Feldman's early stages, how he came into prominence, how he launched BKFC, when he launched it, and where he seems to find himself now that he ended up purchasing a company who was already established out in the UK. He ends up purchasing them. Now he's based out of the UK. He's starting to branch out into Asia. Now he's in conversations with South Korea, bound to expand into Japan, in conversations with Dana White. And this is all after the BKFC 56 event that took place in December between Mike Perry and Eddie Alvarez, which at that point, Dave Feldman and the BKFC had experienced, at that event, they experienced their highest gate revenue. It was a sold-out crowd out in Utah. It was their biggest event to date, with 6,000 plus in attendance. And now they move over to this event, one event later, BKFC 57, and they match and beat those numbers. It was a reported 7,000 plus in-house, in person. They bring the highest gate revenue and numbers to that venue, the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. Highest numbers of viewership for them. He has a promotional pact now, the BKFC and Dave Feldman. That's when I say he, Dave Feldman, has a promotional pact partnership with none other than Conor McGregor and his beer brand, the Irish Stout, Forged Stout. This is just one event later from when we posted that episode. And he's moving fast. If you're not a fan of the BKFC, for whatever reason it may be, I totally respect that. But if you haven't even tuned in to watch those events, or you don't really know what I'm talking about, look up the BKFC, check out their next event, and see what you think. And the reason I'm covering it is because this is as grassroots as it could get as it relates to boxing. And you have MMA athletes, former MMA athletes. You have athletes from all backgrounds within combat sports who are participating. Something that Dave Feldman and the BKFC have taken pride in is not to be doing complete mismatches and bringing anybody off the street against a seasoned veteran in whatever art form they perfected or they participate in or practice, but rather all prospects and all fighters that end up participating within the BKFC have to prove that they have some type of background in combat sports. To try to even the playing field, or at least make it competitive. The main event at BKFC 57 was Austin Trout against Luis Palomino, and Austin Trout, who we remember from his title fight against Canelo Alvarez, who lifted the title from Miguel Cotto, who fought each of the Charlo brothers, who had a great career in the pro ranks as a professional boxer, has now added the BKFC welterweight title to his mantle of accomplishments. His debut came against former UFC star Diego Sanchez, and now he fought former MMA standout in Luis Palomino, who is a veteran of the MMA sport. If you remember Luis Palomino from years back before Justin Gaethje jumped into the UFC, they had some amazing wars between them, where Justin Gaethje would come out successful in those. Something that Dave Feldman mentioned late last year in one of his post-fight press conferences was that he didn't believe that traditional boxers would excel in the format of BKFC because they're not used to either receiving the amount of damage that you will get from the bare knuckle versus that of a boxing glove, a padded boxing glove, let alone the protection that your hands garner from the wraps and the boxing glove. He believes that, and he believed that traditional boxers would not transition well, whether it was by way of receiving damage or by way of delivering damage. Didn't think that the hands would last, or that the damage that they would receive would be, that they would be conditioned to receive that type of damage, because it was a whole different beast, a whole different format. And he's right to a certain extent. But Austin Trout just put all those doubts and that conversation on notice and on check. Because when he stepped in as Austin Trout, not the brawler, not a fighter, but a boxer. And his footwork, his hand speed, his knowledge of boxing, he feinted, he was sticking, moving, evading, pot-shotting, countering Luis Palomino all night. After the first round, he got into rhythm and cruised to a victory over Luis Palomino, having highlight after highlight throughout the fight and proving that narrative that true boxers don't belong in there by outsmarting, outpointing, outworking Luis Palomino by way of his footwork, his hand speed, his knowledge of the boxing game. He would stick and move and feint and fake and pop in, pop out, land uppercuts. Luis Palomino will lunge forward, which is what he's been really good at. Lunging forward, dirty boxing, trapping fighters. Austin Trout was not there. If he would end up against the ropes, Luis Palomino will close ground and Austin Trout will move out. Just roll out of danger. And boxing excelled, and we have a former boxing champion within the pro ranks, add an accomplishment to his record, to his decorated record, and now he's a BKFC welterweight champion. Congratulations to Austin Trout, the New Mexican native. Congratulations to the BKFC for setting yet another record and continue their ascension into what is Dave Feldman's goal to be the second biggest promotional company in the world, second to the UFC. And he's acknowledged that, and that's his goal, to be second. He's not trying to take over the UFC. He's just trying to become second and be in the company of. And he's doing it, and he's moving fast. So congrats to the BKFC. I just wanted to do a quick episode on that. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. If it's just not for you, then I could definitely respect that. And we continue on with the sport that we love so much, which is boxing. And there's so many big fights that are starting to get signed. And it's already been such a great year with just about 5 weeks in this 2024 calendar year. many, many great fights that are slated to take place this first portion of the year, this first half of the year, that are already signed and scheduled. The BKFC is doing big things. Check them out. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you owe it to yourself. Go check it out. It's entertaining as hell, and I really think you'll love it. A whole different format. If you're going into it thinking it's a boxing matchup, it's not. If you think it's a brawl or a street fight, it's not. But it's a combination of a little bit of everything that you get with some strategy, and you start pulling for these fighters like Austin Trout, who are inflicting their styles and their experience on other practices within combat sports, other art forms within martial arts, and the stand-up game. So, congrats to the BKFC. BKFC 57 was a complete success, and I can't wait to see what they continue to do. They just announced that they're going to have a big event out in LA, I believe is April 27th, and that's their annual Knuckle Mania that they call. This is going to be their fourth Knuckle Mania, a throwback to WrestleMania, the WWE, which began something like that, and these guys are on a trajectory to build a whole new following with that. Knucklemania seems to be where they throw anybody who's everybody with some added surprises and guest appearances and guest fighters, and they've been doing great at those. And this is the fourth installment of that Knucklemania, and it's going to be taking place in Los Angeles, California, which is a new market for the BKFC that they're breaking ground in as well. So that's bound to be another huge event for them. Congrats to the BKFC, and well, I'll leave you guys with that. I'll check you guys out on the next episode. Many more great episodes to come, and great fights that we got to cover and review. And thank you again for all the continued love and support. Heck Cali, out.